Tales of Imagination, Eternal Magic. There are creatures beyond the mortal world, the inhabitants of the 6 realms of magic, closer than they seem, further away than can be imagined. They dabble and deal, bargain and bond, offer and take, and it's hard to predict exactly where their gifts will lead. The Empire can reach out to them through the powers of the Archmage and the Imperial Conclave, but they also reach back. The one could not exist without the other, and sometimes their touch is gentle, and sometimes it is harsh. Magical events originating closer to home are detailed in the companion piece, Tales of Mystery. Heroes Fair, Summer. Imperial heroes can access the Four Corners Fair during the summer solstice. The fair offers opportunities to gain tools and boons intended to aid heroes in pursuit of their destiny. The egregores have been entrusted with invitations allowing 5 people of their nation to visit the fair. Maraud has requested the aid of Katrina Words, the unbelievably magical, during the fair. The Four Corners Fair shows up in any number of heroic tales, but very few people actually know what it is. Whenever a story mentions a hero, often one who is down on their luck or feeling defeated, finding a market stall or a shop or just a friendly stranger with an object of uncertain provenance to sell, there's a chance they might have actually stumbled into the Four Corners Fair. It seems to be one of those rare magical chambers that can be accessed from any summer regio, associated in some fashion with the eternal Barrion. Heroes in need of aid may pass through the boundaries of the chamber without realizing, and leave with a unique magic item or a useful potion, or just some good advice on how to pursue their quest. The Enchanters of Dawn and the Runesmiths of Wintermark are perhaps the most familiar with it. According to them, representatives from many courts and dominions can be found here vying for glory, outdoing one another with their skills and sales patter, awaiting the start of their story, or preparing for their next grand quest. This season, Barrion has been prevailed upon to allow Four Corners Fair to be accessed from the Imperial Regio, at least for a time. The scuttlebutt is that the Regent of the Eternal Sea has prevailed on the elder statesmen of the Summer Realm to grant access to Imperial heroes to aid them in their fights against the Empress of Sharks. Regardless of the reason, the fair will be accessible to heroes starting at around 2 in the afternoon during the summer solstice. Over the last week, heralds of the Summer Realm have visited the egregores of the 10 Imperial nations. Rhiannos sent his dolphin messengers to Dust, Flame, and Glass. Cathan Cannae sent a great bear to the Sulcavaris and Grudge the Unshackled. Jaehaerys' silver-tongued emissary sought out Mother Varushka and Liavan. Eleonaris' crimson-clad courtier sought out the Knight of Roses. Adamant had a Koboldi runner visit Escon, apparently in honor of a nation that loves stone almost as much as he does. Barrion sent Revel to deliver his invitation to Jack of the Marches and Guys, while Maraud dispatched a magical lion owl to Menos of Urzan. Each messenger delivered an invitation, allowing 5 members of that nation to visit the Four Corners Fair. They'll only have a limited time there, no more than around 20 minutes to make deals, boast, and otherwise avail themselves of the fair's services. Each messenger makes it clear that the fair is of most use to those who are starting to prepare for great things. Those whose path to glory or heroism or victory is unclear, who have the most to prove. Grand heroes and mighty warriors and potent magicians rarely need the aid of the Four Corners market. The final decision as to who gets the invitation lies with the egregore, but each is free to determine how to choose those who will visit the fair. Each invite lists a different time, and the heroes who bear it will need to assemble at the Imperial Regio with time to spare if they are to get the most from the experience. In each case, the messenger is quick to point out that there is no requirement to enter the Hall of Worlds, or any need for those chosen to be magicians. There is one other matter. After it has visited Menos, the Lion Eagle of Morode wings its way over to the Mountains of Dawn to deliver an additional invitation to Katerina Words the Unbelievably Magical. The Golden Magician, the Lord of the Isle, the Summer Mage, requests that the respected magician offer her assistance. Something about happening to run a certain game at the fair that would normally be the province of one of his apprentices, but that the apprentice in question has accidentally been turned into a lion eagle and refuses to be turned back. A herald will meet her with more details at the summit, but Morode will consider it a favor if the unbelievably magical Katerina is prepared to help him in this slightly mundane matter. A looming issue. Sanvar Isk. Access to the Loom of Spells will be auctioned at 2 o'clock on Sunday at the Imperial Regio. Sanvar Isk appears to be feuding with orphans. The playwrights of Tacitus have reason to thank Sanvar Isk, the self-proclaimed most virtuous herald, for his ongoing work. Nobody in the Empire has made themselves as ripe a target for satire as the man who, in the words of the League National Assembly, is definitely not a slaver. After twice approaching the Church of the Little Mother to generously offer their wards the chance to work on his loom, and twice being rejected to the jeers of the orphans, Sanvar Isk has apparently decided that this is the hill he wants to die on. Yet more broadsheets are pasted to the walls across the city detailing the crimes of the children. Apparently pelting the most virtuous herald with rotten fruit violates the tenets of prosperity, as no food should go uneaten, and assaulting him with toy weapons violates the tenets of pride, as the virtuous do not demean others. Isk's crowning glory is a specially commissioned play entitled The Rats of the Little Mother, advertised as a searing expose of the corruption of the Empire's own children. Critics have dubbed it the best comedy of the season, and have offered much praise for its young stars. Sanvar Isk apparently stormed out of the first performance in a huff, and has since attempted to sue the theatre company to prevent them from performing it again, turning it into a runaway commercial success. Despite all appearances to the contrary, the most virtuous herald cannot spend all season making an ass of himself. He will once again attend the Imperial Regio at 2 o'clock on the Sunday of the forthcoming summit to auction access to the Loom of Spells. Bids should once again be given in any contribution of mine and forest materials, with only the total quantity mattering. Tacitus comedians have been heard to beg the elites of Anvil to keep the bids coming. Such a comedy goldmine cannot be allowed to run dry. Wolves and Bears, Cathan Cannae. Warrior heralds of Cathan Cannae were invoked to defend the beacons of Calavasea and Hanmark. Cathan Cannae offers a third ritual, but asks that a statue of the Great White Bear be built to recognize her support for the people of Wintermark. After the spring equinox, heralds of Cathan Cannae emerged from Summer Regio in Calavasea and Hanmark. From Rudal Hall, wolf-like archers and scouts with white and blue fur come forth to protect the marshes, prepared to fight alongside the heroes of Wintermark. From Kalperheim come the great bear people in crimson robes, with spears and staves. They fight along the Imperial armies gathered there to defeat Cold Sun. The gifts of Cathan Cannae, delivered at the winter solstice, have demonstrated their effectiveness. It may be that the Mistress of Blizzards is aware of the proposal made by Graciana y Lopez Higuera. More likely, she simply assumes that the folk of Wintermark will eventually get around to creating beacons in Surmasark, as they have in Calavasea and Hanmark. Either way, she has sent one of her ogre-like heralds to Atalark with a pledge. If the beacons are to be built, she will grant a third boon to the people of Wintermark in honor of their strength and resilience. The drum of the Iron Harpoon will call forth the tusked folk of the Lake of Iron, who abide in her realm to protect the beacons. All she asks in return is an acknowledgement of the aid she has given, that when the beacons of Calivacea are constructed, a white granite statue of a great bear be placed on the shores of Lake Atconarok, gazing out across the waters. The statue could be included in the same motion and commission used to create the beacons, but would increase the cost to create them by a further 5 wains of white granite and 15 crowns. Alternatively, it could be commissioned separately as a folly at any time before or after the beacons are created. The Mistress of Monuments might take this task on. It is easily within the limitations of her powers. Once the statue is completed, Catherine Cannae will send a herald to bring the 3rd ritual text to the warriors of Wintermark. It is her intention to deliver it to the general of the Narwhal's Spear, unless a more appropriate candidate presents itself. Crucible of Ink and Fire, Azoth. Azoth is satisfied that the Navarre have transformed the nature of their nation and won its aid. It asks that when they are ready to attune the last singing stone, they get the Archmage to arrange a parley. Last season, the Eternal Azoth presented an opportunity for the Navarre to reattune the last singing stone, recovered from the depths of Broceliande during the great adventure into the forests. The stone is currently only usable by terrenal covens, and there have been no terrenal covens for 1,000 years or more. Shortly before the summer solstice, a brightly painted herald of Azoth turns up in Seren with a message from its master. Azoth is apparently pleased to see that the Navarre have made a profound change to their nation, and as a consequence is ready to help them reattune the singing stone. All they need to do is prevail on the Archmage of Night to arrange a meeting with their plenipotentiary powers. When they are ready, Azoth will help them bring the stone into alignment with their people, unlocking its power to be used by the Navarre covens. There is a little confusion about what exactly the Navarre did to fulfill Azoth's requirements, and that confusion is reflected by the herald. Azoth needed the Navarre to make a significant change to their nation, something that would have a lasting impact and leave them different. The Eternal is satisfied that they have done so. The herald has no idea what it is the Navarre have done, but presumably they must know. Something significant that changes their nation, done during or following the spring equinox. If they're not sure what it is, says the herald diplomatically, Azoth will probably tell them when they arrange their meeting to undertake the challenge of reattuning the stone. Light the Fuse, Janan. The title of Shadowed Torchbrand is now available to be appointed by the Conclave. A herald of Janan will attend the Hall of Worlds at 11 o'clock on Friday to deliver regalia and a list of tasks to whoever is appointed. The offer made by Janan in the winter of 385 YE has been accepted. Following the request of the Conclave that the same season and the assent of the Imperial Senate the seasons after, the title of Shadowed Torchbrand stands ready to be appointed. Charged with spreading passion throughout the Empire by means magical or otherwise, and with acting as an intermediary with the Fiery Heart, should such a thing be required, whoever holds the title has been promised rich rewards by the Hope's Ember to assist in their work. As such, a herald of the Night Sword will be attending the Hall of Worlds at 11 o'clock on the Friday of the coming summit to deliver these rewards, along with some suggestions of things that might improve the Empire, or at the very least earn the favor of the Scribe of the Burning Names. The Muse of Fire does not seem to have considered the possibility that the appointment might not happen until later. Whatever the case, Zai will doubtless be watching the actions of fair representative Mercurial Toad, Sadogua. Sadogua offers to help the Dean of the Lyceum continue to codify rituals even though the Lyceum remains hidden behind walls of mist. He offers to use the Well of Shadows to the landskeepers of the marches. He remains surly, and will not do more than the bare minimum in response to dripping echoes of the fen. Despite the fact that the Imperial Synod chose not to recognize the Brother Wizards as an exemplar of prosperity at the spring equinox, by all accounts the Toad King was left in a much cheerier mood after this inquisition. He also took the opportunity to talk to the Bursar of the Conclave on the matter of the Lyceum. Indeed, the Globbersnotch extends a friendly offer to the Dean of the Lyceum. As the new owner of the College of Magic, the Black Sloth is more than happy to arrange a herald to serve as a go-between, to ferry an arcane projection from the Dean to the scholars safely ensconced behind the walls of mist that currently cut them off from the mortal world, and the threat of the Grendel. He'll also have the herald bring any unfinished ritual texts to the Dean, after he has had a read-through himself, of course. The Quiet Annex apparently makes it a piece of piss to do this, and Saduoga pledges to do so until the Lyceum is once again available to Imperial citizens. Out-of-character note: the Dean of the Lyceum can take advantage of this simply by submitting an arcane projection for codification via the normal rules. The Worm King also extends a boon to the landskeepers of the Marches, if they wish to accept it. He was apparently heartened by the enthusiastic support during his Inquisition, and offers one of them another season in the Well of Shadows if they wish to make use of it to codify a ritual. He asks that they use Missive of Saduoga to tell him which of them will use the well in the upcoming season. In the event he receives more than one such missive, he'll pick one that is most polite. Out-of-character note: the player who contacts Saduoga will also need to email Plot after the event with the details of the arcane projection they wish to codify. If there are any queries, the Marcher Egregore may be able to offer advice. While the Eternal appears in a better mood, he remains angry about the theft of the Whistling Strand, for which no reparation has been made, and for which no apology has been forthcoming. As such, while he continues to honour the agreement that underpins dripping echoes of the fen, he will not bring any additional power to bear in supporting it. As he said previously, the ritual will still work, it simply won't protect anything beyond the region where it is cast. The defences and wards it summons after are all his, and he is free to choose which ones to provide to Imperial magicians. Best in the world: Jaehaerys and Eleonaris. Jaehaerys and Eleonaris have each recruited champions with a contested claim to be the best in the world at something. They will be coming together for a series of debates late on Saturday night. As well as the representatives, a total of 100 people will be able to use the Sentinel Gate to observe the contest. An argument between the Lords of the Forest of Arden and the Queen of the Fields of Glory has been rumbling along since the depths of winter. Jaehaerys has made himself a champion for the Empire's noble qualities, while Eleonarists insists that the Imperial citizens lack a special quality that keeps them from achieving true greatness. They have agreed to settle the matter with a contest of words between mortal champions at the coming summer solstice. Both have already selected their champions, with a contested claim to be the best in the world at something. So all that remains is for them to meet in glorious debate. The gathering will be taking place at the Solar Estate Fracii Savos at 11 p.m. on Saturday, and a suitable conjunction of the Sentinel Gate has been identified for 100 people. Each pairing will have 7 minutes to make their case. Heralds of Jaehaerys have made it known that the Moon Silver Prince's appointed arbiters, Costanza y Calimar Iguera and Marta Iguera, are responsible for ensuring the attendance of the Empire's champions and a suitable audience. The Forge at Sunset. Challenge the Iron Duke will not be able to be cast until at least winter 386. The Iron Duke's seclusion continues amid rumours that he is working on something. The heralds of the Iron Duke wish to speak to Ishka and Jaska at the Imperial Regio at 6:30 on the Friday of the summit. Others will have received letters from the heralds of the Iron Duke. At the autumn equinox, the heralds of Barian will host a melee to be known as the Pinnacle Tourney, with further details to come after the summer solstice. Also at the autumn equinox, some of the victors of previous Iron Duke challenges will be invited to take part in a special Grand Challenge. For many years, the civil servants of Anvil have been used to the heralds of Barian swishing through the portal in the Hall of Worlds in the weeks between summits, with their accustomed air of dignified superiority, whether it be the stern-faced features of Styx, Castellan, and Temper in their resplendent summer-forged armor, or the polite yet imperious robed figures of Revel and Bellows, all of them always armed with odd yet precise requests for delivering letters or some question or other such prognosticators, the response recorded in meticulously neat handwriting to be used for some future purpose. This year, these visits are few and far between. The magical force preventing the use of the Iron Duke's ritual continues, and there have been fewer and fewer reasons for the heralds of the Reeve of the Summerlands to visit the Empire. It appears that the ritual is currently being blocked by a strange conjunction of the door and the mountain, according to the heralds, though any more on the matter they are not able to say, or perhaps the currently reclusive Barian is not willing to tell them. When pressed, they admit that the problem will not resolve itself this summit nor the next. More precise calculations lie outside the interests of the boisterous Summer Realm, who finds matters of prognostication immensely tedious. The mortal realm will have to be content to wait for the Iron Duke's agents to tell them when the issue is fixed. Whenever that happens, it seems. For now, Barian is taking advantage of this unexpected free time to focus his attention on other things. The mithril-clad Temper explains, working alone in his forge for many days on ever more exquisite items to meet his fancy. Items to be won in challenges issued by their lord, the antlered Bellows says, starting with a grand tourney to be organized for the summit in autumn. It will be a grand melee of individual skill at arms, where warriors will have to win entry beforehand, with the last combatant standing winning an immense prize crafted by the Eternal himself. And of course there will be a twist to proceedings to keep things suitably interesting, the robed Revel hints conspiratorially. Only one more piece of information is preferred. A name. The Pinnacle Tourney. They also make mention of a Grand Challenge, something unique to test the mettle of some of those who have already proven themselves to the Iron Duke once before, as a celebration of the end of whatever this current era is, and the start of something new in the near future. But any more than that will have to wait for further missives from the heralds prior to the autumn summit. It's important to build anticipation with things like this, apparently. Despite the conjunction preventing the use of the ritual, the business of concluding those challenges still in the hands of questers continues. The heralds indicate that they have one more scroll to deliver to Ishka and Jaska, and will deliver it at the Imperial Regio around 6:30 p.m. on the Friday night of the upcoming summit, and they will also be available for a short time to answer questions and such for anyone interested. Given the lack of business, they have not hired a space in Anvil, and will be leaving as soon as the scroll is delivered. With that, the heralds depart in unison, leaving the civil servants left behind the familiar task of turning this otherworldly proclamation into decidedly mundane printed bulletins. Out-of-character note. Some people will have received letters inviting them to a rewarding ceremony for completing their challenge. Due to an error, it was missed off that you may bring up to 5 people with you to the ceremony, if you wish. Loquacious longing for letters, Lashanar. People interested in sharing their heartfelt letters with the eternal Lashanar can take part in an opportunity by putting their name into a night container in the Hall of Worlds. Heralds of Lashanar will be visiting Anvil on the Friday evening to promote the opportunity, and Sunday morning to hand out tokens to those taking part. It is Mellifle, Herald of Lashanar, who brings the offer to the civil service. It takes a form that Imperial citizens have seen before, as once the Loquacious One asked the people of the Empire to share with it letters of love. Now he asks for letters of longing. Mellifay is specific. A letter of longing that you have wished to send, but cannot or will not. The reason does not matter, so long as this letter is one that has not yet been read. She is very clear that the speaker in dreams is not offering to deliver these letters. She is also clear that the Loquacious One understands that this kind of expression takes time. The gathering of letters will take place at autumn equinox, but citizens must signal their intent at this solstice. Mellifay also notes that the herald Rossignol told her that the Imperial Synod is a bit nervous of Eternals at the moment. She suggests that anyone worried about the conscience of King's intentions should speak to Eliza de Savros or Lysis Siegling or any number of others who took part in a similar opportunity in the past. To take part, Step 1. Have your name put into a night container in the Hall of Worlds between Friday evening and midday on the Saturday of the solstice. Together with your name, write 5 words that relate to longing. Note: write your PID, player ID, clearly on the reverse of your paper. If you are vegan or allergic to feathers, mark this also so we know for the tokens. Step 2. Meet a Herald of Lashana at one of these locations on Sunday to receive a token. At 10:30 in the Hall of Worlds, at 11 near the Varushkan Fire, at 11:30 at the Glory Square in Dawn, at midday near the entrance to the Navarre Woods. If you are a citizen who writes and battles, send someone to collect your token on your behalf. Accessibility. If you cannot reach any of these locations for access reasons, please write where you can be found between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock Sunday next to your PID, and the heralds will visit you. To keep numbers manageable, this option cannot be used for people who are battling or monstering earlier in the morning, only for those with access requirements.